Hello, this is Sim Racing Corner, and that is Simcat. Hello, Simcat. How you doing? Well, I picked up a Razer Kiyo Pro from Amazon. It's actually half price right now. I don't know how long that offer will last, but it's on Amazon.co.uk. I'll put a link in the description. So it's half price, so it's £84 and a bit of change. Compared to £166, which is the normal price. So that's a pretty good discount, which is why I picked it up. So I've got this set up on this big old stand here above my sim racing rig, because I do film my sim racing videos from above and behind my head. If you follow my channel, you know what I'm talking about, because you've seen a lot of my videos. So up until now, I've been using this Logitech Brio, and I've been using it for a few years, and it's been doing a good job. But there's some reasons why I wanted to try out a different webcam, which I'll go over now. But what incentivized me effectively was the fact is it was half price. And I wanted to see if it is going to be better than the Logitech Brio. So, yeah, you can also check all my videos, actually, my sim racing videos. You can see most of them have been filmed with this. I have started filming with this. One of my latest sim racing videos is using this camera. Although I do need to nail down the settings a little bit, as I don't think I've got them quite right, but I'm getting there. One of the things with the Logitech Brio, which is something I found is a bit of a problem, is if I record at 60 hertz, 60 frames per second at 1080p, which that one can do as well. They both can do 4K as well, but at 30 frames per second. But at 60 frames per second, I find that the Logitech Brio, the quality of the image, it's sort of it's not quite as clean. It's a little bit kind of you have to kind of watch it on a big screen, not on a mobile phone or tablet. You need to watch it on a big screen so you can see it. But yeah, the quality of the image just has, the edges don't seem to be as sharp at 60 frames per second. So most of the time, in fact all of the time these days, I record it at 40 frames per second, and that increases the quality of the image. It may be kind of subtle, but you can definitely tell when you have the source videos, and you can look at them back to back, where it just seems to be a little bit brighter, the image, just a little bit, and also just the quality of the edges seems to be sharper at 40 frames per second. So I can't run it at 60 frames per second without a problem, without a deficiency, unfortunately. So with the Kiyo Pro, that doesn't seem to be a problem at any frame rate. 60 frames per second, 40 frames, 30 frames per second seems to be very consistent, and the image sharpness seems to be the same. What I will say though is the Logitech Brio at 40 frames per second, the image sharpness is better than the Kiyo Pro by a bit. But the Kiyo Pro has an advantage that you can run it at 60 frames per second without any compression to the image, where the Logitech Pro seems to kind of make the image a little bit less good, as it were, which is a bit of a shame. Another thing about the Kiyo Pro, which I was really made a massive difference immediately, and I could tell, is it's really good in low light conditions. It doesn't have any problems where the Logitech Brio, you really have to use a ton of light to get the best out of it. Otherwise you get a lot of graininess. And I use this big old LED panel here, and with the Brio I really need to shove a lot of light down the side so you can actually see everything, like around the sim racing rig, with the steering wheel and everything else around it. Otherwise you do get a lot of graining, like in low light conditions, where this one seems to be absolutely have no problems. It seems to have a really good sensitivity to light, no graining that I can tell even when I set the LED lamp quite low. So that's been a big advantage. Another thing which I'm not quite sure about if it's a pro or con yet with the Razer Kiyo Pro is the colours come through with incredible vibrancy, to a point when it's actually slightly over the top. You can go in the software and obviously tone it down, and I'm still in the process of trying to nail it down. I've kind of got it about right, but I still need to do a few more tests. I've only had this for a few days, so it's not as if I've done a ton of testing in it, but I have recorded a few videos. and I found out, yeah, that the colours come through. They're a little bit, they pop a bit too much, and they actually might look okay. They actually probably look quite good to you, but they're not exactly what I'm seeing through my eyes. Where the Logitech Brio does a better representation of colour reproduction from what's coming from the screen. Ignore, down here, I think it looks very good from the actual the Kiyo Pro. Everything it looks very nice and clean, and colours look good. Where with the Logitech Brio, it may look a little bit kind of more sort of, I guess, darker, may not look quite as good, but the actual colour representation of what I'm seeing through my eyes is closer using the Logitech Brio. So yeah, it does a better job, at least when I'm recording from my screen, which is obviously a particular use case. So you do have to bear that in mind. It's not necessarily when you're filming other things like your face and things around you, it's going to be, it's different circumstances. But recording from my monitor, I'd say the Logitech Brio makes everything look, I'd say, more authentic. Even though it actually looks pretty good, this is actually more true to life what you're seeing. So yeah, if I put a side-by-side comparison for all this sort of stuff, you'll see this. You actually see the fact is, yeah, although the Kiyo Pro probably looks a little bit nicer, and maybe you think actually looks better, the actual Brio is doing a better job, bizarrely, in actually more authentic representation of what I'm seeing. So yeah, that's an oddity, but yeah, I can probably zone it out, work out how to get that to be more closer, but it's okay. I'd say it still looks good though. But yeah, I am sensitive to that. One of the other things actually is you get with these cameras is a field of view setting. So you get like 3 settings. Both of the cameras have 3 settings, like a narrow and medium and wide. I'm using the narrow field of view on both the cameras, because I'm quite close into the screen. What I discovered is with the Brio, the actual field of view settings, even the wide field of view, it doesn't warp the image. It seems to be fine no matter what. With the Kiyo Pro, when you're close up to something and you use the wide field of view, there is some warping of the screen image. It can look a bit weird. So I think if you obviously putting the camera further back in the room, then it's going to be okay. It sort of hides that sort of element, but close up it does look a bit, there is a little bit of warping, bit of bending of the image, where the Brio doesn't seem to suffer from that. The other thing is also the field of views are slightly different. The narrow field of view on the Logitech Brio is a lot closer in, it frames things closer than it does on this one. So yeah, that is a difference, and I prefer the Logitech Brio for that. You can use that artificial zoom feature on the camera settings, but generally speaking, when you bring it in, you do lose a little bit of detail. So yeah, I'd say I prefer the Brio for that. Yeah, so yeah, some pros and cons with these cameras, guys, and I'm hedging kind of that I'm going to continue using the Kiyo Pro over the Logitech, since I find it's easier just to set up with the lighting, even though I'd say the colours on here on the Brio are more authentic. So yeah, but I think we can probably get something which looks good and sharp and looks very nice. And the fact is, I can run that at 60 FPS. And it looks nice and sharp, and I can't quite on this one. Even though at 40 FPS that I run it at, it still looks pretty good. I don't think you really notice there's a problem with the frame rates. It still looks pretty reasonable. But yeah, that one seems to work a bit better. So yeah, pros and cons for both of these cameras. But I figure I'm going to work and keep on that one. But of course, drop comments below the video. Which one do you think looks better? I'm pretty sure you'll probably say that one looks better, the Kiyo Pro, over this one, even though this one is actually more authentic. And I only can tell you from my point of view, from what I'm seeing. But yeah, that one sort of does a better realistic job. That one sort of makes things look a bit nicer through whatever processing and exaggerating of the colours. But yeah, we can, I think, zone some of that, that down and make it look a bit more real, more real life. But yeah, that's what I'm running at the moment, guys, and half price, so it's maybe worth checking out at the moment. And obviously the Brio is actually more expensive. It's probably about 150, 160 pounds. So that one is definitely the better buy, the Kiyo Pro right now, until that price goes back up. But there you go. Hope you found some of this interesting. Of course, this video is all very much a particular use case. so maybe not going to be useful for everyone. But if you are planning to maybe set up a camera like me, film your monitor from above, those are the differences. You know, you can pick and choose which one you think looks better. I expect you're probably going to, like I said, you're going to think that one looks better, and I can understand that, because when I look back at some of the footage, it does look, you know, nicer. The colours look nicer, even though that one's actually more realistic. But there you go. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Simcat's buggered off now, so she's not here to say bye bye. But yeah, that's the end of me for this one. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy simming, and bye bye.